Hey everybody, it's Mike again with another growing video from a different greenhouse. We are currently in the sun house. It is 11/24 of 2024, and if I didn't mention it before, which I probably didn't, I'm in Zone 7A on Long Island, New York. And if you're from Long Island, New York, hey, what's up everybody? Get out there and grow something just like I am. Let's get to the sun house. Now, why do we call it the sun house? Well, because it gets the morning and midday sun and into the late afternoon. The shade house is finally just now starting to get some sun in there, and it's about 11 o'clock. So we started planting some stuff. We only got 3 plants left. We've been updating the book as we go along, so let's get into the growing. As we start off with our first planter here, we have our parsley and our rosemary that's been doing very good in here. We have our war thumb broccoli, and we have our Long Island Brussels sprouts. Now, with this planter, right, what we got growing on in it is a couple things that I like to keep pushing the envelope, or not pushing the envelope, but pushing the topic of why you should stop thinning out your plants. Now, for starters, I deal with a lot of different farmers, and I pick up a lot more information with them on my daily trips and visits. One of the things that every time I ask them about different stuff that I find out from other YouTubers or different stuff I find on the internet, their answer to me all the time is no. Do you thin out your plants? No. Do you trim your plants? No. What do? We plant them, we water them, we fertilize them, we spray insecticides if we need to, we harvest them, and that's it. Cool. Okay. So you don't thin out your tomatoes? No, we don't thin out anything. You don't trim off the little suckers on your tomatoes? Like, no. Why would you do that? You just minimize your harvest. So what did I do? A whole 24-foot row of tomatoes did not get trimmed at all, and I've had freaking harvest after harvest after harvest, and there's sometimes I didn't even film a video of the tomatoes I harvested because I really didn't need to. I know that this is successful, this is how it's going to go. And I'm going to go fly away like Mary Poppins. Everything just seems to grow so much better when you're not, you know, over harvesting on stuff. I see like a bracket over here that's loose. I'm like trying to tighten the bolt so I don't fly away. So anyway, so with that being said, it's why you don't really want to thin out your stuff, because you never know if it's going to survive or not. And if you thin out a bunch of plants and then they all die, you look like an idiot. You spend so much money on everything. We got like March winds in November. It's crazy. It's amazing that this greenhouse right now is as warm as it is in here. I think if I fix some of these panels and stuff that are flopping, it would actually be warmer. Because I got one that's pretty loose that's right next to me. So, these things are old, man. It's amazing they're still surviving. It's, you know, I think the reason why is because it's plastic windows and aluminum structure. That's why it's lasted for so long. As the airplane goes by. So to start off with this first planter here, we have war thumb broccoli we just planted in Long Island Brussels sprouts. Now we're going to go down the list and you're going to understand why I am highly against thinning stuff out, other than I'm told that it's really stupid to do so. We start off with the Long Island Brussels sprouts. They were sowed on 11/9 of 24. On 11/12, one sprouted. On 11/16, 2 others sprouted after that, with a grand total of 3. It is 11/24, and we only have one of them that survived out of the 5 that was planted. Broccoli. On 11/9/24, we had 5 of them we sowed in. On 11/12, 4 of them sprouted. It's 11/24, and only 12 days later, only 3 survived and 3 made it outside. And probably in the next few days, 1 or 2 will be left out of that 3. Because 2 of them don't look too bad. 1 looks pretty good. The second one's not too bad. The third one may or may not survive. Anyway, so we're going to actually head over now to the next spot that we have growing on over here, and that is our garlic and onion bed. We have white onion, white Spanish onion, and red onion. They haven't sprouted yet, but we do have our garlic that's sprouted. And our garlic was literally from a large garlic clove that we separated all the sections. We put them in there into the ground, and they sprouted. And they sprouted on 11/19 of 24, and they were planted on 11/9 of 24. So 10 days later, we had success with the garlic sitting in the sun house. And they only get, everything in here only gets watered when it needs to be watered. So we're not going in there on a time schedule, because this greenhouse contains the humidity and the moisture stays moist a lot longer. Plus, when it rains, it kind of leaks in from the roof as well, so it's a self-watering if you kind of want to look at it that way in a comical sense. Like, what's stabbing me? I got these guys like stabbing. What the hell's stabbing me in my side? Let's take a look at what we got growing on over here, people. So the onions, you can see they haven't sprouted yet, but the garlic is definitely doing very, very nice. Very nice. And over here we have our radishes, which are these little bells down here. And then we have our those are our French breakfast radishes. And then we have our cherry bella radishes, which kind of look more like a finger. And all those radishes are ready for harvest. I'm only grabbing them when I need them, and at the moment I don't need them right now, so they're gonna just stay the way they are. Whew, that's sunlight. Over here we have our garden beans that are looking really good. And over here is a great comical one, right? So this is a Timelia. And I planted this so late that that's why there's flowers on it. And because it's in like the mid-60s, and it's probably gonna get warmer in here too. I know it was 62 when I got in here, and it feels like the temperature is going up a little bit. Let's take a peek. Oh God. We are at, I'm sorry, we were at 62. We went down a little bit, but we're gonna go back up again. So right now we're at about 58 degrees. We were 62 earlier, but now it's gotten a lot windier, so now the temperature has dropped a little bit. That's all right. We got our Detroit beets right here. We have our bell pepper, and then over here we have our Maconi red pepper. And this is where we're actually going to be sticking our eggplant right now. So what's funny is a lot of the stuff that I'm messing around with right now literally started off outside in the garden, and I was like, oh, let me bring it inside because it's getting cold, and I wanted to see if I could overwinter it. And we had this tropical storm that came through, one of the many crazy hurricanes that we had. And everything just got super cold out here. And I was like, oh man, we got to bring this stuff inside, and I wanted to see if I can overwinter it. And then it sat inside, and it just kind of started to like die out a little bit. And I said, you know what? I'm like, let me stick this back outside, because it was doing good outside. I look inside the greenhouse. There's a lot of stuff that's growing a lot better inside the greenhouse. And to be honest, I rather, if I can grow the stuff outside, I'd rather grow it outside than inside, for more than a couple reasons. One, they get more natural sunlight, watering, good accurate amount of watering. Yes, they get good watering on the inside of the house, but they get a little bit better watering. They get a little bit stronger because they're out here in the winds and the weather. You know, inside the nursery, everything is on like basically a full climate control system that's in there. You know, here it's going to have warm and cold and hot and warm and humid and hot and cold and warm and humid and hot. And it's going to have a lot better way of growing. When it's inside the nursery, everything is under a controlled environment. And somehow I've lost one of the tags. How did I manage to do that? What the hell? Unless I didn't have that tag. What in the hell is going on here? Oh, here it is. I did lose a tag. It was under my butt. Only the eggplant tag in my butt. So, it's better to grow your stuff if you can inside the house versus actually trying to do it inside. It's better to grow outside the house than it is to try to grow it inside. And it's just basically the reasoning is that when it's inside the house, it's under an extreme scrutiny of climate control. It's sitting on a heating mat that, yes, the temperature is going to fluctuate a little bit. You know, once it hits the temperature, it shuts off, and then it goes down a little bit, and then it comes back and off and on and off and on and off. I got fans in there as well that I turn on. I turn the fans on to simulate wind, and then that could also dry out the soil, so you got to keep an eye on that as well. There's a lot more to keep an eye on when it's actually inside the house, and that's why I said it's more of a scrutiny, and it's under a controlled environment. The bedroom temperature fluctuates between, you know, 60 degrees, even like 54 it can get down to, and then that room can get up to like 70, 75. It was 75 a couple days ago when it was cold outside. We had to heat up a little bit, and we keep the door closed, and we had the shades pulled. I walked in there, it was like, whew, man. I can tell you right now that the tropical banana plant's fucking loving it, because every week there's a new leaf on this fucking thing. And what's funny is I took some, I had a yellow plum tomato I had a bunch of tomato seeds that were on my cutting board, and I sprinkled them around the banana plant just in the soil of it, just for shits and giggles. And now I got a bunch of fucking tomatoes growing under the banana. It's like, oh my god, I'm gonna have tomatoes all year round at this rate. Sprinkling some JP in there. That's really about it for everything in this in the sun house here. Nice all-purpose fertilizer. Okay. You gotta see what that looks like. So I put them around the pepper. Now we go to a handy dandy book. Now I was looking before and I didn't see the eggplants logged inside here. And I wonder if that's because I kind of started this book, I started the data logging of it when, get out of here fly, when I started like trying to figure out like when stuff was, when it started growing, and then, you know, when's it ready for harvest, and then I started having issues. I'm like, when do I harvest this and when do I harvest that? And that really stemmed from that worrying, and not worrying but wondering when to harvest, was all from my bottom dwellers. I'm talking about the beets, the turnips, the radishes, the parsnips, the potatoes, and the carrots. I'm like, when do I harvest these guys? And it's like, I look all over online and they're like, oh, you harvest them at this time and that time and this time. Well, I couldn't remember when I planted them. So that's where the data logging came into play. So when the bananas came inside, that was my overwintering plan. And after that, a lot of the stuff that I overwintered went back outside. So let's see what we got for the Black Beauty eggplants. So we got banana, lime, lemon, tomatoes, basils, celery, tiny tims, they died off, cinnamon, basil, large green pepper, sweet pepper, radishes, turnips, rosemary, barley, dill, oregano, bell pepper, jalapenos, basil, and Cuban sweet pepper. That thing's almost ready, that Cuban sweet pepper. Yeah. That came out of the greenhouse. It came out of the sun house and into the closet. Now it's in the closet because it's so. It's like crazy, like some things like my pumpkins, for an example, right? So I planted those on 10/6 of 24, on 10/13 of 24, 3 germinated, and on 10/14/24 the last 2 germinated, because I'm doing like sets of 5. I transplanted them 10/19 of 24 to shelf 3 in the nursery on 10/19, right, 24, and on 10 on November 16th of 24, all of them died. Like, I don't get it. They were doing fine. It wasn't really a transplant. It was more or less of a shelf transplant. They were planted in a pot, and I took them from one shelf to the other, and it was all the same environment. They were doing fine. They were doing great. They had the watering and everything. And what's crazy is I got tomatoes growing in the same planter with them, and the tomatoes are fine. So I know it wasn't a watering issue, and I know it wasn't light and it wasn't heat. They were doing fine. Tomatoes are growing at a low temp. They're doing great. I got Scotch bonnets that are on the shelf above them. They're doing fine. Peas and stuff. I don't see anything for these eggplants. So what I do have only for the eggplants is on the tag. Luckily, it does say the date that they were planted. Because there was a certain point in time where I was trying to track the growing of it by doing the tags, writing on top of the tags of the date they were sowed. So luckily it shows 8/8/24. So I could just write on here is Black Beauty eggplant. Temperature was like 65 to 75. The sow date was 8/8/24. I'm just gonna throw shelf. I'll just say let's do shelf 12. Is usually where I start all my stuff at. Germination date unknown. Data missing. Greenhouse date, we're just going to throw it on for now as 11/24/24. And for the zone that it's in, go back to our map. Shows where what zone we're in. And this is in this one is for the determinate tomatoes, the tiny Tims, but obviously we don't have that right now. That would be during the summer. This would be zone 11. This would be sun 11. That's it. Transplant date would be if I go to move it again. Estimated harvest date, I got to look up what they are to get their harvest date, and then the harvest date. So estimated harvest date, let's say, is January 1st. But then I only harvested them January 3rd because that was when they were able to get harvested. I might have waited a little bit longer. I was doing that with my cucumbers. There was a lot of people saying, whoa, when they're yellow, you gotta take them off the vine, they're dead. So we had literally a cucumber that had a little yellowness on the tip, and I just kept going for a week and a week and a week, and eventually it got freaking longer and bigger, and we brought it inside. Oh, that thing was delicious. So the cucumbers I grow are black-seeded Simpsons, if I'm not mistaken, what they're called. They got spikes on the outside of them. Maybe that's why they call them black-seeded. I'm not sure why. They're not. The seeds aren't black, but they're spiky as hell on the outside. You just kind of brush them off carefully with like a rag, so you don't get them in your hand. They're not sharp. They're not like solid thorns, but I just like to take that extra precaution. You never know. So that's done with those guys. Went over everybody else that's in here. It's Mike over here at Growtopia. If I missed anything that you guys want to know or find out, sometimes I don't mention it because it's all in my head. But if you guys do, like, subscribe, share it with your friends and family. Hope you guys got something out of this. If you have any insights or any other things that I covered, maybe I misspoke on something, maybe there's something you do differently that worked good, please comment below. I'd love to hear from you guys. I always love learning more and finding out more about people's trials and errors. A lot of the stuff that I'm growing out here is all experimental. That's how I'm learning from what to do right and to do wrong. That's why I'm highly against the thinning. I'm highly against the pruning. I've had great success not doing any of those stupid things. I use it, I don't use it, it doesn't matter. With the fertilizer, I notice a small amount of boost in its growth period time, but the overall amount of extra fruit you get is so minor, it's not even noticeable. Because I've had plants that I run with fertilizer, JP's fertilizer, and without, and they get the same amount of harvest. It's just one plant might grow a little quicker than the other, but don't always believe it's the fertilizer. There's so many other factors. Okay, you got sunlight, moisture, you got the nutrients that are in the soil, you have when the plant germinated. You know, it might have, like, one might have popped up, let's say October 1st at like 9 a.m., but the other one popped up at October 1st at 10 p.m. So there's so many different variables, so don't always think that the fertilizer is the best option, because if you're trying to grow and do this all on a budget at home, and you have a very limited budget, and you know, a pack of seeds for $5 is a lot of money to spend, that packet of seeds, depending on what plant you're growing, like tomatoes for an example, that could be the last time you buy that packet of seeds, because all you got to do is take one tomato out of your harvest and get all those seeds from it. And there's a lot of seeds inside of a tomato. There's a lot of seeds inside of eggplants. There's a lot of seeds inside of peppers. There's a lot of seeds inside of all this different stuff that we grow. And it's harder on certain plants to get those seeds, and that's like basil. You got to wait till it flowers to get the seeds. To get, I think, rosemary and parsley, it's the same way. You got to wait for them to flower. There's a few other ones you got to wait to flower, but stuff that we all eat, like the beans, right? The bean is the seed that you can regrow. Great, simple. Same thing with tomatoes. Same thing with the eggplants. The same thing with the peppers. The seeds are inside of it, so the seeds are right there. So if you're worried about trying to afford or keep stuff growing, it's always right there. If you take a tomato, right, let's say it's during the summertime. Let's say my first tomato is, let's say, June, and I harvest, a black beauty, or not black beauty, black creme or a black prince or a Cherokee purple tomato, and I'm like, oh man, this is great. But I got all these seeds on my cutting board. Scoop them up, put them in a container, go out to your garden, and stick them out in the garden. And in about 2 to 3 to 4 weeks, they'll sprout, and then next thing you know, before you know it, you have more tomato plants. If you have tomato plants that are outside and you got the bugs, different bugs or caterpillars and different stuff, they got to your plants, and you're able to get rid of the bugs, but you got all these tomatoes. Don't throw out the tomatoes. You have two options with them. I can clean them up, cut them up, and eat them. If you don't want to do that, you could stick them in your compost, and if you're not running a compost, you could always slice them up and throw them back into your garden. They'll rot down, go into the soil, and then about a week or two, they pop back up. So just because one tomato or two tomatoes you find dead on the ground or half eaten, don't think that's it for that tomato. That tomato will then regrow tomatoes. And you could have all year round tomatoes constantly regrowing. My mother's mother-in-law, she had tomatoes always popping back up where she had tomatoes, and she never really replanted them. And the reason why was because the tomatoes would fall, hit the ground, rot, decay, the seeds would go down, and then in about a couple weeks time they'd sprout back up, and then just circle of life, man, circle of life. So anyway, this is Mike over here at Growtopia. I hope you guys got something interesting out of this video. This is inside the sun house. We're going to step outside, take a look at what's going on over in the orchard to see if we have anything that sprouted. I think I saw some stuff that sprouted. So we're going to go and take a look at that, and I will see you guys will see me in that video. Hope everybody has a great Saturday. Like, subscribe, share with your friends and family. This is Mike from Growtopia, and I'm out.